Yes, anytime Asawasi will be in the news, it has to do with security issue.
Yeah.
Either people have been killed in connection of robbery, people have been killed in connection of violence. How does it make you feel as an MP for a constituency that is perceived as a trouble constituency?
Well, I mean, I don't think anybody will be happy with some of the negatives, reportage on my constituency. I mean, let's also call spade a spade. I believe that Aswansi is not always in the news for the bad reasons. Aswansi of late comes into the news for very good reasons. I mean, you yourself, I just mentioned, I mean, they don't go without dust. I mean, our children are now going to school. Security generally has tremendously improved as compared to, say, 15 years ago when I first became an MP. You remember there was a time that right in the evening, the guys will start shooting and everybody will be running helter-skelter. It's no longer there. I mean, sometimes they'll go and block for another junction to check and be seizing people's phone and other things. It's no longer there. Security has generally improved. We've done a lot to try to increase the security. I mean, there used to be only one police station in the whole of the constituency. Today we have 5. To us, the airport police station, I built the Aswansi police station, I built the Boban, the Pakosu, we have the Askor Mompon police station. So visibility of police has tremendously improved.
But still, people have security issues.
Yeah, yes. I mean, like every part of this country, the security challenges are there. Remember, my compatriots, the 7 young men were not shot in this constituency. They were shot outside. Even the last, last week incident that happened in front of the party headquarters didn't happen within the constituency. It happened outside the constituency. You see, we have a gap that we need to deal with. Until I became a member of parliament, enrollment in education was very low. A lot of people were not going to school. Believe me, when I became an MP first, if 10 parents came to me, I can bet you that 8 was about personal issues and not the education of their children. Today, when I sit in my office and 10 parents come to me, between 8 and 9 are talking about the education of their children. And I see that as a huge positive thing. But you see, educating people does not manifest, the benefit of it does not manifest immediately. It manifests gradually into the future. But remember the gap that we've had of huge unemployed young children who, say, the time that I came, you meet 10 children on the street below the age of 10, and you can get as many as 5 of them that have not been to classroom before. This will continue to be a challenge for some time. Remember, those who were there 10 years that time, today are 25 years old. So we have that gap. Struggling to get some of them to learn something. Many are learning a profession. But you still have some 10, 20, 25% who have not learned anything. And unfortunately, they are always used by the political parties and others as langars, as body security and what have you. We are working very hard at it. Even yesterday, I met their leadership, trying to tell them that, look, my commitment to assist you to get out of your difficulty has not changed. Please, if any of you still want to learn something, if any of you still want to be able to get tools to do something, please still come. I will continue to do. I have not reneged on my promise from the very first day. So it requires a lot of effort for us to be able to get them to be there. But we cannot just, like a heap of sand, bring a tipper truck, collect all of them, put it there, and go and dump them somewhere. So it's a challenge that we'll continue to confront. I mean, just look around here, those who are voting, and you tell yourself, close to 70% are very youthful. So obviously, where you have a very large population of youth, you need to be systematic, conscious about effort to get them to be thinking right. And that's not easy. I must admit, it's not easy for parents, it's not easy for imams, it's not easy for pastors, neither is it easy for the MP or assemblyman or the MCE in this constituency when it comes to those kind of, sometimes, what we call wayward youth. But it's a challenge that we believe the number is going down. We need to continue to make effort. And let me say, the police are also assisting. Intelligent, a lot of community watchdogs are helping. What can we do?
Well, as I say, MP there, Muntaka Mubarak. Let's take you now to Tema East, where Dela Michelle is joining us with some details. Dela, in this particular constituency, we heard of how some unidentified men had stormed the area and disrupted the voting process. What is happening now?
For the Tema East constituency, that is at the St. Alban Anglican Church, there's nothing of that sort when we got here. When we got here, the place was literally calm. We spoke to the presiding officer, that is Jerry Amankwa, to ascertain the situation, the process, how it has been so far, and of course to ask if there has been any form of disruption of the process so far, as we heard the report of some unidentified men showing up here with the intention to disrupt the election. But so far, he says nothing like that has happened here. As you can see, people are just voting peacefully at this particular place. They're expecting not less than 1,330 people to cast their vote. But when we spoke to the presiding officer, we know that the polling stations usually are separated. They are into two parts. So we have the A and the B, and as you can see, that is what the process is. For those who are coming in around this time, it's a smooth process. They don't really need they're not in a long queue or anything of that sort. They just come, they go there, they see their names in the register, they're given the ballot paper, and they go cast their vote. But I also have with me the party agent for Joshua Alabi, candidate Joshua Alabi Evans Mensah here, who has also been here since morning. And so we want to just find out from him once again, truly, how has the process been over here?
Well, the process has been smooth. You know, the National Executive Committee provided, means that with your party ID card you can vote. If you also have a national ID card where it portrays your picture and your name, you can also vote. So I think that has made the process easy. And the demarcation of the electoral area into two. We have polling station A for those who are in Community 1. You know, Tema East is made up of Tema New Town and Community 1. So we splitted it into two, where Community 1 is voting at one side, Tema New Town is also voting at another side. And so, based on where your branch is, when you come, you know you're supposed to belong to Community 1. And so you go there, and then the process is moving on smoothly. In fact, I'm very appreciative of the whole process.
It's interesting you mentioned that the process is moving on smoothly, because we had information that some unidentified men came in here earlier with the intention of disrupting the process. Can you confirm that for us?
No, that is not true. That might have happened in another constituency, but not Tema East. As I speak to you, the security services have done a very good job. They've been able to maintain sanity. You can see everybody is happy around. In fact, Tema East, historically, we have some minor challenges when it comes to election. And this time, the Constituency Executive Committee with the Regional Executive Committee have ensured that we should do something neat, at least, to give a very good image of Tema East. And that is what you see. So the information given to you, I'm sorry, that might not be true.
So, but tell us, aside this information that has not been true and the process so far, you are here for Joshua Alabi. How many of your other agents are also here?
Well, I'm here with two other colleagues for Professor Joshua Alabi, myself at one polling center, and then my colleague too at another polling center. And then we have one on standby. When anybody gets tired, he substitutes. And as you can see, we have other agents too. About 4 of the aspirants have also provided agents. But as usual, even in the general elections, not all aspirants are able to provide agents, probably because of the cost involved or something. But once we have about 5 agents, you should understand that we will agree with each other, and then the process will go on.
So, Keminni, you heard it for yourself. That is Evans Mensah, Enoch Mensah, he who is a party agent for Professor Spio Gabra. As you can see, voting is on. Professor Joshua Alabi, as you can see, voting is ongoing. For many who have cast their ballot, I tried to engage them, even though they did not disclose whichever candidate they voted for. I'll tell you that they were excited. I actually saw a man, when he put his ballot paper in there, he placed a kiss on it, and then he said, "Good luck to his candidate." So everybody so far is satisfied with the process here. As you heard for yourself, the party agent has also confirmed that there was nothing of that sort over here. As I spoke to the presiding officer, he also did mention, Jerry Amankwa, that there's nothing of that sort. No unidentified group have stormed the yard of St. Alban Anglican Church to disrupt the process.
Dela Michelle there from Tema East. We'll go back to her if she has any more to share with us. But speaking of the voting process, take a look at former President John Dramani Mahama and one of the other candidates in this process. Alban Smani Kingsley Bagbin in Wa today. There's a picture coming from there. It would appear after both had cast their ballots, they met to exchange pleasantries. Interesting photo there, Evans.
Interesting. I think that is the beauty of democracy. It is a race, people coming from the same womb or people belonging to the same family. Democratically, they will have to go into a race in order to grab that soul slot to lead the party. It is not a fight between enemies. It is a fight between people with, collective focus, people who have one agenda, and that is to regain power, political power, after losing the 2016 general elections. It's just a matter of what I think, what direction I believe we should take, what direction the other believe we should go. At the end of the day, we are all looking forward to one thing, and that is winning political power.
Indeed.
I think in the build-up to this particular primary, there have been some unfortunate commentaries, unfortunate comments, unfortunate posture and all that emanating from the camps of some of these aspirants. I just want to believe that by the close of polls today, after, one of the 7 aspirants emerged as a winner, there should be some level of unity, there should be some level of cohesion. We need a very strong opposition party. We need a very strong opposing force to always put the ruling government in check. If we have a divided opposing force, then I wonder how we're going to see an effective democratic dispensation.
Very well. Let's go to Tema Central now, where another candidate, Sylvester Mensah, will be voting. Kwesi Daniel is our roving reporter there. Hello, Kwesi.
Who are not feeling the benefit of creating.
Hello, Kwesi. We have lost Kwesi there, unfortunately, but we would rework the lines and get Kwesi back over the telephone. Evans, I want us to look at the candidates. Now, if you're just joining us, this is our continuing coverage of the NDC presidential primaries. Now, on the ballot paper, number 1 is Alban Smani Kingsley Bagbin. Number 2 is Kingsford or Kingsley?
Yeah.
Kingsford.
Yeah.
Right. Now, number 2 is Nuruddin Idrisu. Number 3 is John Dramani Mahama. Number 4 is Sylvester Mensah. Number 5 is Ekospio Gabra. Number 6 is Guzi Tano. And number 7 is Joshua Alabi. We'll go through these candidates immediately. I finish talking to Kwesi Daniel, who is our roving reporter in Tema Central, the very constituency where Sylvester Mensah will be voting. Hello, Kwesi.
Yes, Keminni, how are you?
I'm well. What has happened in your constituency?
Right now, virtually, Tema Central is kind of peaceful at the moment. Earlier on, the former Attorney General, Marietta Burhamon, came to vote at the center. That is 8-1 GSS. But at the moment, I have Sylvester Mensah, one of the parliamentary presidential candidates in front of me at the moment, but he's caught up in a conversation at the moment. But I'm just drawing nearer to him so that if he could share a word with us.
Very well. Now, Kwesi, while you do that, how many people are expected to vote in the Tema constituency, Tema East Central rather constituency?
Yes, Tema Central. Virtually, we are looking at 902. Branch executives plus the constituency executives.
Very well. What has the attendance been so far? As you attempt to engage Sylvester Mensah, what has the attendance been so far in Tema Central?
Let me put it this way. Virtually, it's more the delegates in Tema Central are more of the in-out people. There's a working class, the residential area, and the hustlers. Hello, Keminni. He's about moving at the moment, so I'm just drawing closer to him so that if you could share a word with him.
Very well. We'll keep you on the line. Tema Central is home for one of the candidates, Sylvester Mensah, who hopefully would engage in a conversation with Kwesi Daniel, our roving reporter. What's interesting about Sylvester?
Well, so Sylvester was the former CEO of the National Health Insurance Authority in the elsewhile the late Professor Mills administration. I think he did some good job there. But when it comes to leading a political party, I think it's the first time we are seeing him in this particular space.
Make an attempt?
Yes, in this particular space. Well, one will ask, what does he have the wherewithal to lead a political party? Well, I think he has started from somewhere.
I'll just cut you briefly. Kwesi Daniel has Sylvester Mensah over the telephone. Hello, Kwesi.
Yes, Keminni.
Right, my understanding is that Sylvester has agreed to talk to us. Kindly go on.
Yes. Yes, the mandate is over to him so that you talk to him directly.
Oh, very well, very well, very well. Good morning, Mr. Mensah.
Dr. Mills never said that. This is a breakdown of moral leadership.
Hello, Mr. Mensah.
Hello.
Mr. Mensah, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
What are your observations of the process in your constituency so far?
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
I'm asking, what have you observed about the process today? What do you think?
Okay, I've been to vote, and it was calm, it was smooth. The challenges have been people sharing monies at the place, and it's not proper, it's not fair. It gives an unfair advantage, and it does not also connote moral leadership. I think that there's a breakdown of moral leadership in our party, and it is important that at the end of the day we sanitize the system. We are able to live with some of these infractions. It began very early in the day, but I think that generally we expect the will of the people to prevail.
So who are you referring to as the people who are sharing money? Hello, Mr. Mensah. Mr. Mensah. Who are those who are sharing the money?
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Mensah.
Hello.
Well, I think Mr. Mensah has handed the phone back to Kwesi. Yes, Kwesi.
Yes, he just moved, but the letter I could get from him was that he was not happy about the turn of events at the center.
Well, Kwesi, here's what we'll do. You find out from Mr. Mensah who is sharing the money, which he finds unacceptable at the constituency. And then, Kwesi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I tried asking him that, but he was very reserved on that clause. But the little I could put my eyes on the ground to see some acclaimed supporters of ex-President Mahama are busily distributing food items. And under the food items is envelope, sealed envelope with thank you, JM. Thank you from JM.
I see.
Which he saw he was kind of not happy about it.
Is this for every voter or for specific voters?
Virtually all the 902 voters that came to the center. That is what is being given them.
I see. And obviously, the other candidates are unhappy about it.
Even if you listen to what some of the delegates are saying, they are virtually putting these elections under, let me use the word, a runway ticket for one particular candidate. And they are showing, some who I spoke to off record are saying that this thing is a done deal. They wouldn't even waste their time in court.
Very well, Kwesi. We'll come back to you in a moment. Just hold the line for me. Evans, the party was supposed to provide food, transportation, and the likes, but this is what we're hearing from Tema Central, at least.
Well, interesting. So two things are playing out here. I mean, in the typical Ghanaian elections from 1992 to 2016, you see the polling agent representing the various political parties being given food just to keep them alive as they monitor the process. That one is done. I mean, I wouldn't say within the political or democratic circle as to whether it is a norm. It is something that we need to accept, but it's something that in our country or in our democratic culture we have co-opted. Maybe the technocrat or the political expert will be able to read between the lines and see if going forward is something that we need to continue doing. Don't forget that our democracy is a fledgling one. We have evolved nonetheless, but the most important thing is that we still have a long way to go. We need to make errors and then correct them going into the future. Now, my worry is that allegation that there's money beneath the food that are being distributed to the polling station, to the polling agent or to the delegates.
To the delegates.
That is a worry, because if that is happening, then it will affect the sanctity of the process. It has to be free, fair, and then transparent. It shouldn't. You see, the delegates shouldn't be put in a particular position that will soil whatever decision that they will have to make. At the end of the day, they must enjoy that level of neutrality to be able to select who among the 7 has the wherewithal to lead the party. I remember sometime in June 4th, exactly at Medina, when the former president Jerry John Rawlings marked the June 4th uprising. He stated that one thing that has really affected NDC as a party is quote-unquote monocracy, and I don't want to believe that that is what is going on there. It is an allegation. We don't have the pictures. For now, we don't have the evidence, even though it is an allegation that has been made by a member or an aspirant. It is just a matter of examining it and then getting or ascertaining the veracity of this particular allegation that the man has made. So I wouldn't want to comment further.
The same allegation came up about 2 days to the election today. That should be about Thursday or so, that indeed something of the sort was going on. Now, the party came out clearly to say the party will provide the food and the transportation, so to say that you as a candidate needn't worry about it. And so you could hear from Sylvester when he says that it appears what the party said it will do, it is not doing. Obviously an unhappy candidate as far as that particular thing is concerned, although he admits that the process has been peaceful. We'll go back to the constituencies when we do have somebody, but since we've spoken to Sylvester, let's take a look at the man Sylvester. Now, you were telling us that we all know him.
Yes, of course. Former CEO
of the National Health Insurance Authority.
He's also been a member of Parliament, if my memory serves me right, before. So when it comes to its political acumen, it is unquestionable. He hasn't been a
career politician per se.
He's been on the quiet compared to, somebody like Joshua Alabi, who rose through or has risen through the ranks as far as the NDC is concerned, to even occupying a national executive position. You talk about Alban Babin, who also has carved a niche for himself when you talk about the politics from his constituency.
It's difficult to place Sylvester in such a circle. You wouldn't describe him as a career politician, although he was born to a father who was a politician himself of the CPP, a diplomat for the Nkrumah administration, which he wrote in his book. Unfortunately, I forgot the title of the book. If I do remember, I will say it. But he is an author himself, where he wrote about his own life and his political experience. Now, if you go to Sylvester's page, he describes himself as an NDC foot soldier, although there is no lineup of his political experience. He expresses himself as an NDC foot soldier and an author. Now, I'll tell you a few things that he wrote about himself. He says that he is an original member of the NDC with his roots as a foot soldier during the revolutionary period. He also says that was the first Greater Accra Regional Youth Organizer of the NDC in 1992. He became the party regional secretary in 1994 through to 2001. He contested for the party general secretaryship in 2005 and lost to General Mosquito, who's been there since. And he is currently a member of the Council of Elders of the party in the Greater Accra region and the chairman of the finance committee of the party, also in the Greater Accra region. In the last election, he was a regional campaign coordinator, obviously, the Greater Accra region. And so that sums up his political experience. You think that could go against him?
No, if you are looking at his credentials as far as the role that he has played within his party is concerned, yes, of course, you can say that indeed he has what it takes to lead the party. But you see, in the minds of every delegate, not only the NDC, but even the MPP, a lot of things, come into play when it comes to decision making. Charisma is one of the things that they look at, and then your experience. You ask yourself, why is it that even before polls closes, the former president Mahama is still enjoying some level of popularity as far as this particular process is concerned, because of the fact that not too long ago he was the former president of the Republic of Ghana, and to the delegate, they believe that he still has a lot to give as far as ruling or administering the country is concerned. That is why he is enjoying some level of leverage as far as this particular race is concerned. Then, of course, if you also talk about somebody like Professor Joshua Alabi, who has also been in the helms of affairs. He has been in office as a minister before. He has been a party, and he has played an executive role in the party before, just like Sylvester Mensah.
We'll discuss the other candidates in a bit. Let me just go onto the phone lines and speak to Baba Frimpong. Baba is joining us from the Clote-Collie constituency, where I'm told that MP for the area, Zaneto Rawlings, Dr. Zaneto Rawlings, has voted. Baba, what else can you tell us?
Hi, Keminni. Good afternoon, and thank you very much for having me. So, like you rightly said, currently I'm stationed at Clote, and here voting started exactly at 7 a.m. With an expected number of 1,403 voters. And so far, about 561 people have voted, with an expected number of 842. So earlier today, Honorable Zaneto Rawlings voted, and she happens to be the MP for this constituency. And she assured voters of security. And also, she said she was so pleased with the voter turnout. She also stated that the party has come a long way and won't waste time on preferences, that is in terms of which of the aspirants wins, and that they are ready to support anyone that wins or emerges winner at the close of the day. I can also assure that security here is very intense. So far, no misunderstanding of any casualties has been recorded. Also, I have gathered information that about 18 people were not allowed voting, and this is because their names were not present in the voters register. But then, as it stands now, it's not clear whether they did not register or what the challenge may be. So currently, that is happening here at Clote-Collie.
Very well, thank you very much. Baba Frimpong joined us from Clote-Collie, where the MP for the area, Dr. Zaneto Rawlings, has voted. Now, my attention has just been drawn to the fact that between 1997 and 2001, Sylvester was MP for Dade Kotopong. And so, again, he's had quite a career as a politician.
Yes, but I think to some extent on the quiet.
On the quiet,
yes,
yeah.
On the quiet.
I'd agree with you on that. But let's talk about Clote-Collie. Oh, is it Clote-Collie or Clote-Collie? Yeah,
Clote-Collie. So Zaneto Rawlings is the member of parliament for that particular constituency. He's one of the strongholds of the NDC as far as elections in this country is concerned. From 1996 up till 2012, I think the MP, which was only 2000, that MPP also grabbed that particular seats. In fact, 2010, 2004, I think they enjoyed 55.2%, in 2000 52.9%. So between 1996 and 2012, the NDC has won that particular constituency 3 times. The NPP has won that particular constituency on 2 occasions, consecutive time, that is 2000 and 2004. Now, in the last elections, that is 2016, Senator Ajima Rawlings garnered 33,609, representing some 50.29%. The focus, just to remind our viewers that we are not necessarily talking about the constituency, we are talking about the fact that the NDC is holding primaries across all the 275 constituency with additional 6 polling stations for special delegates who will be expected to vote in this particular constituency. We're talking about those coming from the diaspora. But the reason why we are also talking about the constituencies and their performance is the fact that whoever emerges as the winner of today's elections will have to take all these things into consideration going into 2020 general elections. So whoever wins should know that in the Kolekrote constituency, there have been some level of fluctuations as far as political gains between the 2 main political parties, the NPP and NDC is concerned. So you have the honest responsibility to ensure that you also retain the seats for the NDC.
So there you have in your short, or the pictures you're seeing now, Dr. Zaneto Rawlings going through the voting process in her constituency, Kolekrote constituency. Now, candidate number 1 on the ballot paper is Alban Sumani Kingsford Backben. What do we know about him?
Alban is known as the Mugabe in Parliament because he's been in 1992. He's been in Parliament, so there's no other better way to describe such a legislator than to use the former president of Zimbabwe name to or tag on him. So he's seen as the Mugabe. So if you're talking about experience, he's seen it all. I understand he was an assembly member before becoming an MP. So when you place him on a scale with former President John Dramani Mahama, there's no difference. Maybe the only difference will have to do with the fact that the former president was one time the vice president and then became the president after the demise of the late Professor John Evans Atta Mills, who died in somewhere 2012.
Now, let me add a few to that. Born 24 September 1957. He's also served as health minister before. He's also served as works and housing, water resources minister before. And today he is
contesting
second deputy speaker of parliament, who is also contesting the presidential slot for the NDC at the same time. You know, because of his long-standing time in Parliament and in the Nadoli Kaliu constituency, it gives him a very direct and concise political career. So you don't find it here and there. You just know that since 1992 he has been in Parliament and he's been there since.
Of course, and he also served as a majority leader in Parliament. And to me, it makes him an alternative, I mean, a good choice, okay, as far as this particular position is concerned, because you're seeing it, or if you're talking about managing the macro economies of this country, he knows how to do it, even though he hasn't, I mean, practically he hasn't served in that capacity before, but he has seen it. I'm sure if you go to Parliament today and you sit with Osechi Mensah-Bonsu, who is currently the majority leader, there's nothing that he cannot tell you when it comes to where the economy is going, where the economy will be in the next 5 years.
A different kind of support.
Exactly. But unfortunately, he doesn't have the support of his own people in Parliament. Mind you, about 95% or 95 members from the minority side have thrown their support behind former President John Dramani Mahama. And that looks interesting.
Now, let's look at another candidate who is number 2 on the list, Nuruddin Idrisu, the businessman, oil and gas consultant, and banker.
He's in to test the waters. He's in to see if he can make an impact. I don't see him winning this particular elections, to be told. Well, there's nothing beyond, one would say, there's nothing beyond the realms of possibility, but this one, it has to be one of those miracles, political miracles.
Now, I took the pain of visiting his website, and in his vision, he says to see a nation in which all citizens will be empowered through education, good health, and jobs. His mission is to lead a planned and sustained investment in people and infrastructure for rapid creation of a sustainable economic development and empowered citizen. Now, Evans, this is no surprise, because if you look at his litany of achievements as a businessman, it's no surprise that he would want to carve his message around economic gains and job creation. He's worked as corporate services manager at Standard Chartered Bank in 2006. He's done credit analysis. He joined Wando Ghana Limited as business development manager in 2009, where he again promoted the growth of the company in Ghana, and later helped the company create the BDC, which is the bulk distribution company, Ebony Oil and Gas, which to date is still one of the top most trading companies in Ghana, according to his website. He's been business development manager for Wando Supply and Trading, importing both crude and blah, blah, blah. It goes on like that. Now, in 2012, he resigned from Wando and created his own BDC named Dean Petroleum Ghana Limited. He's personally run this since then. He also has Dean Construction and Trading. So he also is into construction. So it's no surprise that Nuruddin has created his message around economic gains. But for me, again, 2 things could happen to Nuruddin as a business person. Being politically exposed could do 2 things for him: either go south or, do something great for him. Go south in the sense that once you're politically exposed as a private person, it's difficult for people to do business with you. If it works well for him, then people will think that, well, he's got some credibility because at some point he was a presidential candidate hopeful. Maybe
great credentials, if you're talking about his pedigree, yes, he has it, but these are microcosm of the bigger challenge ahead. Okay, if you want to be the president, if you want to lead a party like the NDC, which has over 4 million supporters and looking forward to grabbing floating voters to give them that kind of leverage to regain power, there are a lot of things that you have to do, okay, aside those credentials that you can actually present as a viable candidate who can lead a political party like the NDC.
And he doesn't possess any for you?
I think comparing him to the other 6, comparatively, it's like, I just want to be very economical with my words, but you see, I respect the man, but this will not work for him.
It's no competition? It's no competition?
No.
There's no competition. I have barely heard of him go around the country.
And don't forget, I told you that, you see, winning a political power goes beyond what you have, okay? A lot of things play out. We are talking about your charisma, how well you are known to the people, okay? Don't forget that in 2007, these 2 qualities affected Alan Chemanton.
Right. And again, speaking of how well you're known, I am reliably informed that at one occasion of sort for the party, the former president, Jerry John Rawlings, he himself was surprised by the naming of this candidate. In fact, he asked, so who are you? I mean, and that speaks a lot, doesn't it?
Of course. I mean, it was an open race. So once you meet the criteria to call yourself an aspirant or for the party to recognize you as an aspirant, it was an open race. Everybody that think or believe met the criteria and have the zeal to contest within that space was given the opportunity. They went through vetting.
Whether or not the delegates will think that
so
you should leave them is a different.
It's a different ball game altogether.
Different ball game. Now, John Dramani Mahama is candidate number 3 on the ballot paper. Obviously, he has a lot to tell us, and you know, we know him for a lot of things. One of the things that readily comes to mind is the former president. Yeah, he's the former president of the country, former vice president also, the last 8 years here in the country. We know him as a communicator extraordinaire that he is. He served in that capacity as well for the NDC administration during the Rawlings era. What else should we know about him? Okay,
so we also know that he was under former President Jerry John Rawlings administration. He was appointed as a deputy communication minister, and I mean, interestingly, Sphio Gabra, who is currently in the race, was one time his boss, because he was the minister and John Dramani Mahama was his deputy. Now, the table turned somewhere in 2012. John Mahama became the president of the Republic of Ghana, and then Sphio Gabra also was appointed as the minister in charge of trade and industry. So the table turned. Yeah,
the lesson of don't burn your bridges.
The table turned. Now the deputy becomes the boss, and the boss becomes the deputy. So in fact, he also became the president after the demise of the late former president, Professor Evans Atta Mills. You know, he was the vice president to the president, so when the president died, he was sworn into office as a provision or the constitution demands. He was sworn into office and then later ran for the 2012 election, which he won, and becoming the president of Ghana. So these are some of the things that is known, and currently he's also running as an aspirant or a candidate.
The first time this is happening.
I mean, the first time, because you see, in the NDC between 1992 and 2000, all the aspirant, we didn't even have an aspirant because it was until 2000 that they introduced, I would want to call it, internal democracy in their party, because all the leaders were appointed. Chairman Rawlings was in fact, of course, he was the father of the NDC, founder of the party. So in 1982, I mean, he didn't need any particular endorsement or whatsoever. He led the party naturally. In 1996, he led the party naturally. In 2000, there was an elections, and Mills also won that particular election in 2004. He went unopposed, and then we lost him naturally somewhere along the line. In 2012, I think Mahama went unopposed. Now, in 2016, he lost the elections, and now he has to compete for that particular position.
Right. So he's chalked a few firsts in his political career. The first so far to be born after independence in 1958, the first to succeed his boss because his boss died in the history of, you know, our democracy. He's also the first to decide to come back and contest, and he's the first to have been defeated in a one-time,
the first to write a book, my first
the first to, you know, the first sitting president to decide that I want to write a book, my first coup d'etat, where he tells us as a country he's very indecisive.
I mean, it was irony. I mean, because the title of the book, I couldn't the content in there, one would say in the circles of journalism, you would say it was a bit sensational because he didn't pick the gun or whatever to come into power. He was democratically elected. So maybe, well, I'm one of his critics as far as that particular book is concerned. Why my first coup d'etat and maybe not any other title?
A catchy title. A catchy title always works for the book. Now, his political career is long. Evans is taking us through some. Now, in 1996, he entered politics. He joined the NDC. Being an eloquent champion of underprivileged, he was elected to Parliament for Bole Bamboy constituency, which is where he's voting today.
Yeah, exactly.
For a 4-year term. He was re-elected in 2000 and in 2004. Now, in 2001, he was appointed Deputy Minister of Communications. In 1997, full Minister of Communications from 1998 to 2001. Minority Parliamentary Spokesman for Communications 2001 until 2005, the Minority Parliamentary Spokesman for Foreign Affairs from 2005 until 2008. It goes on until 2009, where he became Vice President. 2012, the President died, and so on the 24th of July, he's sworn in as President. Now, it was within the same period that he launched his book, My First Coup d'Etat. Fast forward 2012, December 2012, he was elected for a 4-year term, lost in 2016 as Evans was already taking us through. So, well, he's had quite a career as a politician. As a private man working in private circles, he's also had a very, very interesting career, serving in the capacity of international relations and, communications for NGOs and the likes. Now, international relations informs the fact that, he was the minority, the majority spokesperson on foreign affairs at some point in his parliamentary, career. And so he's had a very, very colorful political life. John Dramani Mahama, that is. The next candidate on the list, candidate number 4, we've spoken about already, Sylvester Mensah. So let's move on to candidate number 5, Ekospio Gabra, whose own political career ties in with that of JDM, doesn't it?
Of course, it is. Ekospio Gabra, one would say, is one of the grassroots members of the party, one of the favorites, of former President Jerry John Rawlings, because in fact he appointed him as the communication minister, I think around 2000, between 1999 and 2000, if my memory serves me right. So he was the communication minister when the party went into opposition, lost to the NPP for the very first time in 2000, when the NPP also assumed the position of form government around that particular electoral period. He has seen it all when it comes to governance. He has the experience, he has the expertise, he is a choice, but as to whether he is also popular among the delegates is another issue altogether. A lot of tasks have been given him. Okay, I've heard within the political circles of the NDC some saying that, it's a stab in the dark and all that. But hey, this is the game of politics. And once we have accepted democracy, these things must be accepted. The position or the Oval Office, as in the U.S., but here we call the Jubilee House. It's not the bona fide property of any individual. You and I, we all have the right to go there if only we have the money that we can run. We can actually tour all the regions in Ghana. There are 16, and also at least win some level of support for us, and also maybe create a very vibrant political party. Then we can also conduct, you can also do some campaigns and all that and get to that particular house. So it is not about loyalty, it is not about trust, it's not about anything. It's about what you also believe in. It's about what yourself tells you. Remember what the president said, the former president said during the executive elections of the NDC, listen to yourself. So the man listened to himself, and he felt that, well, I can also lead the party and then win a political power for my party. So it goes beyond what people think personally that it's a stab in the dark and all that. No, it doesn't play out here. Right. What the man believes he can do. So I think he also has the wherewithal to lead the party. But as to whether he will win, he will win. By the close of 5 p.m.,
we'll have to wait and
see. Just a matter of time.
We'll have to wait and see. Now, just a quick pointers about his political career. Now, he's a comeback candidate. He's a comeback candidate. He contested against John Evans Atta Mills in 2006 for the leadership position of the presidential candidate slot for the NDC. Lost against him, and well, it goes on and on. But let me just give you quick pointers about him. 1994 to 1997, he was ambassador to the United States of America, again under the NDC administration. He was Minister of Communication 1997 to 1998. Eko Spiogabra was also Education Minister at some point, 1998 to 2002. And well, I already told you about his exploits in 2006 as he attempted the presidential slot. But in 2010, he was elected vice chairman of the NDC, subsequently named director of communications for the party. Now, finally, in 2014, which is how his own political destiny ties in with that of the Mahama that of the John Dramani Mahama back in from 1997 to 1998, and then 2014, John Dramani Mahama then appoints his boss as Minister for Trade and Industry. His boss being Eko Spiogabra at the time when he was in charge of communication. So that's just about it from Eko Spiogabra, who himself has a very, very beautiful career as a private man.
Even beyond the borders of Ghana.
Beyond the borders of Ghana, in fact, indeed. Let's talk about the next candidate. We have very little time now. The next candidate on the ballot, number 6, is Guzi Tano. And for a long time, I had assumed that his name, Guzi Tano, was just it. I have come to know that originally he is called Augustus Tano. Augustus Ubwedum Tano. Yeah, Ubwedum Tano.
So Gusi, before 1999, was a member of the NDC. He formed a splinter group, because he splintered from the NDC to form the National Reforms Party. Which when remember that in 2000 the election went to a runoff, and I know that he threw his support behind the MPP. In fact, all the opposition political parties apart from the NDC threw their support behind the MPP during the runoff, and that brought former President John Agyekum Kufuor to power around that time. He's seen among a section of the delegates, he's seen as an outcast.
As a deserter.
He's been called. I mean, they've been calling him a number of names: an outcast, a betrayal, and all that. But he's also one of the favorites of the former President Jerry John Rawlings. In all the events that the former president has held, you see Augustus Gusi Tano there. As to whether he will win, it's just a matter of time. But, if you should talk about the Alan Chematen experience, the fact that at a point in time he also denounced the MPP, came back and performed woefully in that particular race, I get a sense that it will go against Gusi Tano.
You think so?
Yes, it will go against him because you see, it raises the issue of trust. If the party is not if we have a problem, you try to disassociate yourself from the party.
And then when things
are going well, you come back to the party. That is not my thinking, but the thinking of a colossal number of the party supporters. So if that one is going to play out, then it will go against him.
Well, Guzi Tano himself, like you said, a lot of his activities for the party happened in the PNDC era.
Yes.
Beyond that, he's occupied quite a number of positions in, the government circles, GMPC, Marine Authority, and the likes. And so it would take the delegates to decide whether or not candidate number 6, Guzi Tano, is good enough for them. We'll quickly move on to another ally from the camp of former President Jerry John Rawlings, Joshua Alabi, who did wonderful things for that administration between when we first held elections in 1996 to 2000, or we could start from 1992 really.
Yes.
1992.
So the good professor has been, in a space for a very long time. I mean, his experience, electoral, rising to the position of, I think, the principal, right, for UPS. So that is his private life. Now, when you talk about his political life and experience, you cannot take anything away from him. He has served as a minister before. He has served as an executive of the party before. He's known among the grassroots.
He's also been to parliament.
He's also been to parliament. But currently, you see, and that is a fact, the most popular person within the NDC now is John Dramani Mahama. But aside John Dramani Mahama, I mean, I've been listening to some conversations among the party members of the NDC. It looks like, aside John Dramani Mahama, maybe one person that is likely to serve as an alternative maybe will be Professor Joshua Alabi. But there has been some interesting development from his camp. I think Namwale, who has been very vociferous for him recently, was this morning
he jumped ship.
Yeah, this morning I read on one of the portals campaigning vehemently for him. Well, I don't know, maybe the prodigal, a story of the prodigal son.
Well, they fell out and now he's campaigning for him.
A story of the prodigal son.
In entertainment circles, we would have said, well, that was just a stunt. It was just a stunt. So those are your candidates. If you're voting today, 7 of them,
yes,
including businessman Nuruddin Idrisu, who obviously is well known within the party. There are no clear front runners. However, John Dramani Mahama appears to be the favorite of the people, having commanded immense support in past elections as former, his former president of the nation obviously commands quite a huge support. Well, according to Evans's own analysis, the next two in line with the kind of support Mahama has is Professor Joshua Alabi. But we'll leave that to the delegates to vote as the exercise is ongoing around 275 constituency plus 6 special centers that have been created to cater to the needs of voters in the diaspora and many others like that. We'll come back when counting begins here on GH1 television. However, you can stay with us on social media as we bring you updates of things happening around these voting centers. My name is Keminni Amanor and I've been here with William Evans Inkum. Have a good afternoon.
Of the land, arise for Ghana, keep the church of the land. Always seek your future.
It is the biggest social lifestyle show on the continent. Ladies and gentlemen, this is FNF TV. Check it out.
Interesting, right? Well, that is the old season of Family and Friends TV.